I got into making these videos because I had been consuming a lot of content for 30 years, a variety of content, and that includes fragrances. I've been reading reviews, watching videos. I was making decisions for myself. I was trying to figure out which fragrances that I want, what are the good ones, what should I wear. But the idea is I've been consuming, I've been taking it a lot, and 30 years of consumption, I've gained something. I've learned a lot of things about what fragrances are, how they work, and what makes them really do what they do. And I wanted to share with everyone. I didn't know if I would do this well enough, if I'd be able to convey the ideas and thoughts. Again, this is me unraveling things that have been stored for such a long time. The idea behind the channel was I wanted to return something to the community. I wanted to give something to the community. Instead of just consuming, I want to help others with their decision making. Going back to the theme, it's think clearly, smell nice, feel better. Or smell nicer, feel better. I'm not the guru. I don't know it all. I could say things that are inaccurate or even completely wrong. I'm not trying to sell you anything or influence you for any specific direction, brand, fragrance, whatever. Even ideas, I'm not trying to push them onto you. What I hopefully want to do is just help others make better decisions. Fragrance is one of those things that's very hard to convey virtually. Finding the right words to describe what something smells like, that's a beautiful skill to have. And the many influencers that are able to do that, and I've seen many, that is a beautiful thing. The way to describe it. It's like you're part of that story, a part of that feeling, that experience that they're going through. I hope that in my sharing fragrance with you that I'll be able to convey the experience that I'm having so that you can make a better decision. It really comes down to, I want to help you smell whatever I'm smelling. I want you to smell that in a way so that you can decide if you want that fragrance or not. Ultimately, it is a gamble, but I'm hoping at least to make a more educated decision. But for this video, I want to talk about something that is less subjective. And that's really unraveling the idea of fragrance performance and why you should take those performance ratings that you see on YouTube and TikTok with a grain of salt. Because the thing about performance is that it is a very subjective thing when they're reporting it out for you, and I'll tell you why. Now, there's going to be some science in this video, not too much, but just enough so that you can understand what I'm trying to convey. Science is that it's about empirical observation and measurement. In a scientific method, you have to define an observation clearly, and you have to provide a way to measure it. So it comes out to what you're measuring and how you're measuring. Also in scientific studies, there's something called validity and reliability. Reliability meaning that when you're measuring something, you're getting the same reading over and over again. That means it's reliable. The tool that you're using to measure that definition is reliable. Think of a scale to measure your weight. If you step on it, it's going to consistently and reliably provide you with the same weight. It'll go up and down, that's called a margin of error, but you can reliably know that it's going to give you that same reading. Validity is whether or not it's measuring what it's supposed to measure, as in weight. So if the scale is measuring your blood pressure, it's not valid. But if it's reliably giving you the same reading, then that's reliable. When you hear the reviewers and influencers talking about performance, we don't know how they're measuring it. What is the tool that they're using? What are the conditions? In a scientific study, what you want to do is not only just define what you're measuring and have the right tools, you also want to eliminate what's called confounding variables. These are variables that influence the outcome, the reading of whatever it is you're trying to get, and those variables can impact the result of the reading. I'm going to give you an example of things that are confounding to the reading of performance in a fragrance. One aspect of that confounding variable is the environment. Other groups of confounding variables are the person. Another group is, but smaller, the fragrance itself. Because fragrance is something that we pick up in the air, anything that influences the air is a confounding variable. In science, we want to control for these. So it means we want to maintain, when we're giving a measurement, we want the conditions for how we're measuring to be as consistent as possible. If these things change inconsistently and unpredictably, they confound or they negatively affect getting a reliable outcome. Because it's in the air, temperature, humidity, air quality, all these things affect how you're smelling that fragrance. If it's too hot or if it's too cold, the fragrance molecules move differently. If it's too humid, they have to push through moisture in the air. If the air quality is bad, that means there's other things in the air like pollen and contaminants and smoke. These also impact not just the scent, but how it performs. So when I'm giving a review and you hear me give you the temperature and the humidity of the room that I'm in, this is to tell you that the performance that I'm giving you is for that condition. When you're hearing reviewers and influencers tell you about performance, what were their conditions of when they gave you that rating? If it was hot, if it was cold, if it was humid. These are important things because I'm trying to help you, before you think you're going to buy a beast mode fragrance, that the conditions that they recorded their rating were significantly different from where you're going to be living in. If you're living in Alaska and you have a reviewer telling you that it's a beast mode in Florida, don't be surprised if you get your fragrance and it's not really a beast mode, because the conditions of that fragrance when they reviewed it and provided the rating were different. So the environment is one aspect that could affect performance, and the reason why is because when they're giving you their performance rating, the conditions that they're giving you that rating must be repeated. So in 70-degree weather with 20% humidity and a certain air quality level with no pollen, that rating, if you can replicate the performance of that rating, that's a reliable rating. That's the performance. So if you happen to be living in the same climate as the reviewer in that setting, or if you're going to be rating that specific fragrance in that specific climate, then you can understand and get a similar performance rating. The same thing could be said for other confounding variables, which is the person. Things like your mood, your diet, your hydration levels. You're putting fragrance on your skin, so the interaction of those fragrance particles with your skin also impact performance, because your body chemistry can change on a daily basis. Your mood, whether you're happy or sad or depressed, not just changes your body chemistry, but your cognitive functioning, your impairment cognitively. If you're drunk, you can smell fragrances differently from when you're sober. So your internal state can change the perception of that fragrance, of how it performs. This is also why when you're just trying a fragrance for the first time and you want to get a baseline level smell, everybody says go skin, but the reason why skin is not the best way to start a fragrance is because of your individual body chemistry. You are removing the thing that makes you different from everyone else. The strip is closer to baseline than your skin. Because everybody's skin is so different, you will smell something different. But you are removing, when you're using a strip, you are removing the confounding variable of your mood, your body chemistry. You are still perceiving it uniquely as yourself, but it's not interacting with that one thing that is different amongst everyone else. You using a tester strip is at the very least, as much as possible, controlling for the variable of your body chemistry. So that way, when you spray it on a strip, you are smelling it closer to what the perfumer intended. You still need to spray it on skin because you're wearing it. You want to know what it performs like on you. But putting it on the strip is the base level. If you give that tester strip to someone else, yes, they will interpret it differently, but their body chemistry is not going to be the thing that interferes to why they smell this strip differently than you do. The thing that's going to change differently is your perception. And the other confounding variable is the bottle itself, the batch. You might get one batch made in 1 month and another batch made in another month, but these could perform very differently because at the time of bottling, the ingredients that they use specifically and when they're bottled, this could affect how it performs. I'm not saying that you should ignore when a reviewer gives you a performance rating. I think all data is important and they take a lot of time to give you this information. But when you're listening to a reviewer and you're asking, I want a beast mode that lasts 12 hours and can project from here to Japan, You got to understand that they're giving you their interpretation in the conditions that they were experiencing it, when they were smelling it. It will smell differently depending on where you are, your environment. It will smell differently depending on your mood, depending on what you ate, how hydrated you are, what's going on up here. I want to hopefully protect them because they're going to recommend a fragrance and it's not going to turn out the way the person wants it, and they're going to be the ones to get the blame because I thought you said this was a beast mode. Hopefully this will give some clarity. I hope I was able to convey this understandably. I know it's a bit of a ramble, and again, this is an unraveling. Up here it makes sense, but being able to get it out there, it's not always easy. I am hoping that this video at least creates an awareness that performance is not a static measure. They give you quantitative measurement. Like it works for 3 hours and then it's on skin for 5 hours. These are quantitative measures. The tools that they're using to measure this is their own nose, which is already subject to their own personal bias, and then the conditions, the environment that they're measuring it, which is subject to other confounding variables. Temperature, humidity, air quality, all these things impact the fragrance performance. So next time you are asking for a beast mode, remember, where did they get their measurement from? How did they get their measurement from? What were the conditions of where they got the measurements from? If this was useful, like the video, share it with somebody who you think this could be helpful for, and I hope to create more content related to understanding concepts, not just in fragrances, not just fragrance reviews, but also just concepts in general. Once again, thank you for watching, and I look forward to more.